despite being relatively unknown. Not many scouts had seen a lot of him in person, but big performances at the Hoop Summit and the FIBA Under-19 Championships helped solidify his stock as a top prospect.
Sanders checked in for Los Angeles. Just under 3.5 minutes played here in the third quarter. Now here's Exum, guarded by Crawford.
Dante Exum, a long, athletic combo guard out of Australia. His father came from the U.S. He was a teammate at North Carolina with Michael Jordan and went to Australia to play professionally for a number of years. That's why Dante grew up down under.
And Dante Exum entering the NBA directly out of high school. He led his team to the national title in Australia in mid-January.
It's a slightly different season schedule in Australia, so he spent about 6 months in the U.S. training for the NBA, basically working on his shot and putting the finishing touches on his still very green game.
Pass to Ingles. Dishes to Hayward. He feeds it to Booker. To the wing right side. Griffin with the steal. With one on the clock, and oh, he hits the buzzer beater.
Pretty
well through 3/4 of.
This Wednesday, November 5th, Chris Paul and the.
And let's take this opportunity now to show you our State Farm assist of the game.
Well, we might as well call it the State Farm play of the game. This was just a marvelous piece of coordination between two teammates, completely in sync on the alley-oop.
Clippers leading by 19, and so in the game for the Jazz. Jeremy Evans is out there with Hayward. Then it's Exum. Then there's Trevor Booker. And it's Ingles in at the 2.
That makes it 10 of their last 12 points coming from inside the painted area.
Yep, that's something that the defense has to put a stop to. Maybe a defensive adjustment is necessary here.
Here's Exum. And it's going to be 2 free throws. Drew contact on the shot.
Well, you know, Chris Paul has such an intelligence for the game. High IQ, and he's extremely competitive. He looks for every advantage he can get, whether it's 2-for-1s or looking to sell a call to the officials. He always appears to be driven to find that edge.
And there was a study using the new motion tracking camera, Steve, that I know that you're interested in, to look at every action on the court, every action. And it determined that the league's most impactful player, none other than Chris Paul.
Well, did we really need the cameras to figure that out?
Exactly. Yeah.
I think we've all been able to tell that Chris Paul's been one of the most efficient players in the NBA for years. He's always at the controls for his team. So poised, an incredible decision maker, and just figures out whatever needs to be done to win the game.
Gobert, he's checked in for Utah. Burke comes in for Exum, and Favors kicks to Burks. There's the double team with Martin. Burks dishes to Burke, just 5 on the clock. The baseline jam. Burks can't get it to go.
This has not at all been the kind of performance they've needed out of him.
And DeAndre Jordan pulls it down.
Boy, the prettiest play in basketball to me. Execute it to perfection.
I don't think you're going to get an argument there. Everybody loves the alley-oop.
Well, unless you're the team getting dunked on, of course.
Guys, you know I enjoy watching soccer. My youngest son played through high school. And there was a study that I think probably applies to basketball as well. From watching star players' eyes, they found that they were much more active at surveying the pitch or field before they received the ball. Interesting stuff. I like the fact that he led his teammate right to the ideal spot. You don't always throw it to your teammate. You throw it to where he needs to be.
Clippers leading by 18. Paul passes to Jordan. Again, Los Angeles. And Clark, interesting what you mentioned. So potentially seeing the floor and anticipating plays before you get the ball is a big key to the so-called basketball IQ.
Oh, I think there's a lot to that. I mean, you can easily see the players on the court who are kind of a step ahead. I mean, Larry Bird was always that way. Jason Kidd, Steve Nash. You can see the play unfold in their mind before it does in the minds of everyone else.
Right side, Jordan. Now Griffin inside. Jordan trying to free himself up. Burks in the corner. And Paul pulls it down.
Well, he's wide open there, but really struggles from that range. Maybe there's a reason he's open.
Second chance shot, and Jordan with the layup. And the Clippers lead by 20.
Some defensive breakdowns are starting to show up now. Their last 4 buckets allowed have come from very close range.
Giving up these easy chances is going to do wonders for their confidence. You know, since halftime, he's been hesitant with the ball in his hands. First half, he was flawless with his decision-making, but not so here in the second.
He lobs up the alley-oop pass, and then Griffin with the dunk.
And that puts a cherry on top, so to speak, of what's been a phenomenal showing for them.
All over but the winding now, Steve.
And guys, with this one winding down, it's obvious to everyone who's watched it. I mean, just a total mismatch and a true show of strength for the Clippers.
Agreed, Steve, and as one-sided as it gets today. You know, Clark, there were some dominant moments in about every facet of this game for that team.
You're right, Kevin. It's hard to think of anything that didn't go right for them. I mean, game planning by the coaches, execution by the players, everything was spot on.
And during the long NBA season, each contest important here tonight. Tonight's win will give them 4 on the season.
Well, they can chalk this win up, but things are far from settled between these two teams. They'll see each other 3 more times before the season is over.
And they say familiarity breeds contempt. As they get to know each other a little better, you imagine things will get heated up. Tonight was only chapter 1.
It always takes someone stepping up, and that happened here as we got great numbers for Paul. And a big part of their success was his ability to keep the ball moving and finding guys when they would flash open.
Catching up on the changes for Los Angeles, Thomas comes in for DeAndre Jordan, and Martin subbed in for Matt Barnes. That's good.
Well, their offense has kicked into gear, but it seems to have arrived a little bit too late.
And as a coach, that can really be frustrating. I mean, your guys were stumbling along for most of the game, and now, when it's basically over, they finally decide to come alive.
Thomas, good on the 13-footer.
Well, if it wasn't already out of reach, it is now thanks to this spurt.
Just keep on firing, man. No reason to slow down now.
Now, here's Exum. He's covered closely. Sanders with the steal. On, here we go. Crawford all alone. Hammers it in after taking it the length of the floor.
And the fans loving what's transpired here tonight. A really good victory for these guys.
Sure was. I mean, they did just what they needed to do to keep the visitors from getting any momentum going at all.
Exum passes to Ingles. His 3-pointers off the mark. Now Martin. Crawford kicks to Thomas. Stolen by Exum. Here's Hood. Misses there. So it's Los Angeles.
Thanks, Kevin.
the 2K Sports pregame show, presented by Sprite.
From North Carolina, number 40, Harrison Barnes.
Everyone's in their seats here at the Oracle Arena as the Golden State Warriors look to grab a win in front of the home crowd here. Last game for the Warriors, they pick up the W against the Trailblazers in Portland.
And it was the role players in that game, Kevin, that really led the charge. You know, the guys who normally don't score a lot, they came in and really contributed.
A total team performance, Steve, the kind you need if you're going to win on the opponent's home floor.
And the Clippers starting five. Blake Griffin down low and DeAndre Jordan. Martin is out there with Paul, and it's Barnes in at the 3 slot.
Well, you knew he'd win that race.
Definitely. I mean, that's what you call early offense.
And that one's good, Barnes.
Well, when the double team's in place, it really spreads the floor offensively.
And here's Griffin.
Harrison Barnes, the 7th overall pick in 2012 out of North Carolina. He's got prototypical size and athleticism for that small forward position. Still developing his overall game, but he's got enormous potential.
Assist from Matt Barnes.
About a minute played so far here in the first. And Paul over to help. Martin against Green. Curry setting the pick for Green. Bogut with a clean look, and he sinks the shot coming off the strong pick.
Well, and the bounce pass was the key to the play.
Warriors on D. This their first look at this year's Los Angeles squad.
And, of course, they're meeting the team that was responsible for dealing them a very painful loss in the first round of the playoffs a year ago.
Curry against Paul. Bogut. Oh, and that one, no question, powered it down. None of the defenders wanted anything Clark to do with him on that jam.
And I do not blame him at all, partner. He was coming in with a bunch of steam and was ready to posterize whoever decided to get in his way.
All right, I understand, fellas, but come on. You've got to challenge them a little bit at least.
Steve just talked about their postseason last year, and Clark, I'll bet they're still thinking about how quickly this team bounced them out of the playoffs.
Yeah, you got to believe that, Kevin. I mean, their first chance this season for a little bit of revenge, they're salivating.
And finished off by Martin.
Solid work on the back end of that play.
Yeah, finished hard with 2 hands on the stuff.
Nothing extravagant about it, but there didn't need to be.
Here's Curry after the Clippers pick up 2. And just under 2.5 minutes elapsed here in the first. That is good.
It is so hard to contain him. He just seems to get it done however he has to do it.
Paul goes in. Barnes against Barnes. Some nice ball movement by the Clippers. Paul can't get it to go. The Warriors have gone 4 of 5 from the field so far. Over in the corner, Barnes uncovered. Rebound by the Clippers. They put up a nice win against Utah last time out.
You know, so often in the NBA we talk about how you have to earn your points the hard way, but it didn't seem like that was the case. Everything came pretty easily.
Too many of their points came the easy way, Steve. You're right. On dunks and layups against a defense that didn't really put up much resistance.
Well, when you talk about vocal leaders among NBA players, you'd have to put Chris Paul right at the top of the list. Always talking, a coach on the floor, but also makes his teammates better.
Catching up on the changes for Golden State. Spates checked in for Bogut. Lee comes